The book that we're using is the Shmirat Shabbos. And we're concluding chapter on page 235, tearing. So we had the one that preceded this was sewing in the Mishkan. They sewed together the sections of the coverings of the Mishkan, and then if there was any defects, it had to be torn and then re-sewn. If there was, for instance, a hole, so if the curtain got a hole, you just couldn't sew the pieces together, it would not look right. So what you would have to do is to tear it, line it up, cut it, so all the ends that are not proper would be removed. Now we have a straight end. We cut off the pieces in order to make this side straight as well. And then you would sew them together. So the idea of tearing was not destructive. It was for a purpose of improving. So that is the Torah prohibition of tearing in order to improve, in order to re-sew, in order to fix. However, rabbinically, the Rabbanan also put any tearing would also be included, even if it is in a destructive way. But the fact that it is tearing, it looks similar to the tearing that is done when it's being done in a constructive way. So therefore, all tearing would be rabbinically prohibited. Now, there are a number of other malachas of the 39 categories that are related to tearing. And when it is being done in a permissible way, you have to make sure that the other malachas, excuse me, the other prohibitions are not touched when doing the permissible tearing, which we're going to be speaking about. Then you have the second malacha, which is mechatech. Mechatech means to cut, but it means to cut in a measured size. So later we're going to learn about the covers of the Mishkan, which is made out of hide, made out of animal skin. In order to be able to have a covering, it had to be measured and cut to the size that they wanted to have it. So any measured cutting is of a material that is considered forbidden to cut. So that itself is a new malacha. In other words, if a person cuts and it cuts it in a measured size, if it's for a purpose in order to improve, they're also doing it in a measured way. So there's two malachas that were done in a forbidden way. So it's not only tearing, but the fact that you're tearing in a measured size, that itself is a malacha on its own. So we spoke about cutting something on a perforated place. So let's say we have towel paper. So the towel paper, cutting it on its place where it's perforated, you're cutting it for a certain size. That itself is the malacha of cutting the perforated paper, because it's being cut for a specific size. So we spoke last week that what happens if there is a situation where you do have paper was not prepared for sanitary reasons, and again because of kavod habrius, because of the human dignity, we do have to have some paper. So if there is a roll of toilet paper, cutting it on the perforated ends, that itself would be forbidden because it's being cut to size. However, if one were to take the roll and cutting it and doing it again for human dignity, we spoke last week that it would be permissible. So we do it in an unusual way. So there we are. We do it in an unusual way instead of doing it by hand. So I did not cut it to any specific size, and that would be avoiding the cutting on a perforated end. Question?
Is this for everyday use?
No, this is all Shabbos. This is all Shabbos. Okay, our class is a Shabbos class. Okay, I don't want to scare anybody. So it's a good thing we cleared it up. If you have a question, please. Sometimes there's a misunderstanding, and it leads to coming away from a class with a misunderstanding that. Now also. We have another malacha, which might be related. That is now, we learned also last week that under certain circumstances on Shabbos, one could open up, tear something that is again needed. Again, we have this tissue box, it's closed, open it, it's Shabbos, we have no other alternative, human dignity, we're going to get into this box. So as we're doing so, we also have to be concerned about not to erase, because we have here the letters. By tearing letters, we are destroying the word. That's called another form of erasing. So even though we're not using an eraser, but the fact that we're tearing the word, that itself is an issue on its own. So there is a permissible way of opening up this box. It cannot be done at the letters where we will be destroying the letter and erasing the letter. So this also is also a concern. So then there is another concern. Then we have another concern. Each one is a separate malach on its own. We have bona, which is building. So we cannot create a vessel. So at times that we also spoke about last week, about under certain circumstances, the Rabbanon were lenient about opening up something that has food in it. So again, opening up something that has food in it, you have to be concerned as we're doing that, not to build, not to make a vessel. And that would be what we were speaking about cans. You have a can, when we open the top, then this can could be turned into a container that could be useful later after the contents of the food has been removed. It could be used for other purposes. As we mentioned last week, at one time, people were very, very economical, and anything that they could use for any other purpose was made use of. So when people would open up cans, they would have the big cans where they had the juice cans. People still buy cans of juice. So they used to remove the top, and then they would use it for a pencil holder or any other useful can, which would be a container for keeping things. Either people would keep their hairbrushes there or combs there or something of that sort. Nowadays, I don't know how many people would actually take the can and make use of it, because other containers are so common, people do not stay with can. But at one time, people were very, very concerned about whatever they had, they made use of it, not having to buy extra things. So if you could have a can and use that for many, many different purposes. So after the contents of the can was emptied, they would use it for other purposes, which means they made a vessel. They made now, it wasn't only to open the can to empty out the contents, but actually after the contents were emptied, now you had a vessel that was going to be used. And that is prohibition, making a vessel on Shabbos. So again, so the topic of opening boxes of Tom crackers, or opening up cereal boxes of cornflakes, or opening up a tuna can with the tuna inside. These are all we're going to be having that when we have the topic of bona. I'm going to give a handout of all the different types of things. I'm just mentioning now, sort of to put it together and just to make you aware how many different things there are involved when opening something up. So just briefly, again, I made an introduction last week. I said when I asked the rabbi who I consult with, what should I teach the class about opening up cans and boxes and containers and all these things on Shabbos? He told me, tell them to open everything up before Shabbos. That's the way. So we don't have to be concerned, are we doing this. And Soser is, we have another, Soser is also just 1 second. Let me just polishing. Then we have the final one is Okay, so yes, who's asking again? Yes, yes, you're asking me.
This is all part of one.
No, it's all different malachas. These are all different malachas. I'm just saying, opening up a box, we have to make sure that we're not going to touch any of these following malachas. So it's not, that's why I'm saying to do it before Shabbos, because we'll have to be so much aware of what we're doing to make sure that even though we're not doing kareya, we're not doing it in a constructive way, but maybe we're doing something else that we have to be aware of. Therefore, open everything up before Shabbos.
So why did we first God to open it outside?
What?
Why did we first God to open?
So make sure that none of these transgressions are going to be done. Number one, is this kareya for constructive? Is it a material? Am I cutting it to size? Am I erasing any letters? Am I making a vessel? Am I destroying a vessel? Am I making finishing touches? What's happening? So right now, again, leniencies. We're going to this. I'm just mentioning it as we're going along. Let's take you're opening up a tuna can, right? So at one point, people used tuna cans to keep their screws. You want to have a little thing just the right size. You keep all the screws there, little nails, tchotchkes, So right now, I don't know anyone is going to be using that. So when you are going to open it, you're going to open it in a way that you show that you're not making a vessel. So you would open up a halfway, not to open up completely. You take out the contents, and then immediately you throw it away. That way you are demonstrating that it actually is not being made a vessel. Its purpose was only to remove the contents by not opening it up completely, where that would make it usable. You opened it up halfway, took out the contents, threw it away, and you did not make a vessel. So you have to indicate that you're not doing so. Yes.
Does this also apply to cans of soda?
To
Cans of soda?
can of soda. We'll speak about that, opening up a can of soda on Shabbos, different opinions in different circles, what they will do with a can of soda on Shabbos. So we'll leave that for our bonus. So I'll actually give you a little handout that has all the different situations that are there. Let's take some examples where you have cottage cheese. When you open up the lid, there's a clear. Okay, so we could puncture that and get to the cottage cheese that's inside. That could be done.
Oh, we should puncture it, we can't open it.
So ungluing it, so again, it matters if it was glued or if it was heat connected. It was like I have to sort of read up on how, there's sometimes they have like a glue that they put together, and sometimes it's just a heat sealed. So there's two different types of seals. So we spoke about not ungluing something, because gluing is sewing. Gluing and stapling is sewing, and so that would go into attaching two things with a third item in between. So we're not going to unglue, but we could break it in the middle, but there's no ungluing at all. And then when it's heat sealed, then it's a flimsy seal. The best thing would be just puncture. Again, when there's some, let's say when you have a coffee, when you open up the coffee, you do have also a seal that's there, but there's writing all over it. Writing all over it. Right? Right? So then we cannot erase the letters. That's why you do it before Shabbos.
So in that case, you can't do anything.
Same thing, huh?
In that case, you can't do anything.
No.
Wow.
What you could do, I guess, is you could do something. What you could do is cut around. You could cut around that whole seal with a knife. You're not going to be touching any letters.
What if you touch the letter, but it's still eligible? Like you can still tell what the letter is. Like, let's say.
You're destroying a word. Even if I have every letter over here, elegant is still going to be, I'm gonna take out the E, but I destroyed elegant. I erased the word elegant, it's no longer elegant.
Or if you touch it a little bit, like a tiny bit.
Again, let's go back again to our, the definition of malacha is if you're doing something deliberately. If you're doing something where the chances are it will not be done, your intention is not to do this malacha, but it turns out that it did do that action, but it was not deliberate and it was not something that was necessarily going to happen. We give an example of walking in grass where you're not allowed to uproot grass. You get caught in your sandal and you're walking and you come at the end of your journey, you see there's grass in your sandal. Did you transgress? And the answer is no, because first of all, for every step that you took, it was not definite that you were going to uproot grass. So it's not a psikresh, it was not something that definitely is going to be a malacha. For instance, if you know that there is a bulb in your refrigerator and your intention is to get whatever is inside, you want to get the filter fish that's in the refrigerator, but you know that when opening up the door, even though your intention is not to light up the refrigerator inside, but you know that that's going to happen, you're not allowed to open up the refrigerator door, even though your intention is not to shine up the inside of your refrigerator, but rather you want to take out the fish. But you know what's going to happen, so then that's called deliberate. However, when you are walking and you're uprooting the grass, your intention is not to uproot the grass. For every step that you take, it's not definitely going to happen. So then it's not a malacha. If at the end of your journey you do have grass. The same thing is going to be when you did try to get around the letter and a little bit was taken. Your intention was not to erase. You were trying to be careful about it. It did happen. It was not something that's definitely going to happen. So you did not transgress. But if you know to begin with that the chances are that it's going to happen, then yes.
Can you repeat what's the right way to open the lid on the cottage cheese? You do
Okay.
it with a knife with your hand? No.
You can do it with your hand, you can do it with a knife. Okay, so so we're going to again look at the so let's try to finish this topic on page 238. So we've actually been doing this. We did this last week. Okay, let's go. Let's go back. Let's look at the 237. We have tearing a cardboard box or paper bag which has food inside. We said it is from the Rabbanan, since it is not to create a storage, and it is being done in a destructive way, and it is for getting food. So the Rabbanan were lenient about it and said you may do so, but it has to be done in a destructive manner, and you should not store the remainder of whatever is in the contents of this cereal box. You should not use the box now as a storage. You're going to do it in a destructive manner. You should be careful not to tear any letters or pictures. So not erasing. And page 238, opening up packages on Shabbos, which are stuck together because of glue. So then ungluing something is a prohibition. If they're heat sealed and not open at their place of attachment, you're going to open it up in the middle. So it's permitted to open on Shabbos in a destructive manner, but not to tear the letters or words. Next topic is tearing a tag that was attached to the cleaners at the factory. I don't know what that is, so I'm not familiar with that. I guess what it is, they staple, when you get a garment back, they staple something to it. Unstapling on a Shabbos should not be done. Usually it's on the inside, so it doesn't bother anyone. So you'll take it off before Shabbos or after Shabbos. but on Shabbos itself, not to take it off. Then you have over here, this is controversial. The last paragraph is you have a price tag or label that's attached to your merchandise. So when you have the tags, when you have something that is sewn on, so sometimes it's sewn on the inside, the label, and sometimes they sew it on the outside, on the sleeve of a jacket or a dress. Sometimes it's sewn on. So removing that which is sewn on, that is forbidden. So before Shabbos, if you want to wear that outfit for Shabbos or for Yontif, make sure all tags are removed.
That's if it's sewn on.
Yeah, so if sewn on, then everyone's, that's according to all opinions, you're not allowed to undo the sewing.
Right.
Now we have other labels or price tags that are attached. And that would be either by a pin or by a plastic thread that has that catches on the inside and the outside. You have to cut it in order to remove it. So this is controversial. Over here, he says that there are those who are lenient about it. And then on the bottom of which is number 17, that brings a source that is from a Chabad rabbi of Yerushalayim, Rabbi Chaim Noam. He said it is forbidden to remove it on Shabbos and Yontif. So again, in other circles, they would be more lenient about that. In Chabad, we're more strict about it. So giving you both views, that so the best thing to do would be, if you do buy something new, as soon as you bring it home, you want to wear it for Shabbos or Yontif, remove all of the price tags, unless you want everyone to know, which company it is and how much you paid for it. And so in that case,
Either if it's attached with those little plastic.
the little plastic tags also. So according to some opinions, they are more lenient about it. Rabbi Chaim Noam, who was a Lubavitcher Paisik in Yerushalayim, he was of the opinion that it is forbidden. You are making now something that is going to be now able to be worn, because normally you would not wear it, and now you are going to wear it with the things sticking out. You're not going to wear it. Now you're making it into a usable item. What we are concerned about is that Makev Patish. This is a very, very general malacha, and that is putting finishing touches. That could be to anything. So now you have a dress that has a tag. In order to wear it, you need a finishing touch. What's the finishing touch? Remove the tag. So now you did the finishing touching with Makev Patish. The translation Makev Patish is Makev means striking, but Patish with a hammer. That would be when you're making a vessel and you're trying to take out all of the cracks and everything else. The final hammer blow where you finished it, and now it's ready to be used.
Technically, if you get dressed, the last thing is like your finishing touch, no?
No, but that's not fine. There's no malacha involved.
Oh.
There's no malacha involved. Over here you have the tags that are there. You're trying to remove the tags in order to be able to wear it. Now, anything else is not finishing touches. Does not mean you look at yourself in the mirror and you're finishing touches and you're washing your face or something. That's not it. It's only if it's a malacha involved to begin with. So you might have a double prohibition. One, first of all, is making the malacha. You build something, and then the second thing would be Makev Patish, finishing it off to make it complete. So that's only when it comes to malachas. Yes.
If you forgot to remove the tag and it won't be visible, can you wear the garment? It's not considered carrying?
That itself is an issue for itself, and that's also controversial. So again, it matters how much it bothers you. Is it? Let me give you an example.
But could you wear the garment?
Let me give an example of. If it's something that bothers you, then it's considered, you make it important in your life because it's bothering you, because it's there, so you're carrying it. If it's something that's has no significance, so then it's not considered carrying. Let me give you an example. You have on some of the coats, you have like a little a hang thing that you could hang it up on a hanger. So you have like what's it called?
The thing, little hang thing.
I don't know.
Okay, a thingy. So now it has, so its purpose is that when you are going to go, there are the hooks that you have. So instead of putting your collar over it, you're just going to hang it on that hanging thing. Now, it ripped. You put it on, there was put so many things in your pocket, it was too heavy, it ripped. Now, on Shabbos, when you're going to go outside without an Eruv, is it considered that you're carrying?
Oh, because it's ripped.
It's just hanging there. Yeah, it's attached. What's it doing there? So then the answer would be, it matters how important it is to you. If you're going to re-sew it, then you want it. It's not insignificant. It is significant. So you cannot go out with it on Shabbos. If you're going to leave it this way, it became a part of the garment, and you're allowed to wear it. So you understand the difference?
Yeah.
If it matters how important you made it, if you made it important, then it is important, and therefore you're carrying it. If it's not important because you're going to leave it this way, you're never going to sew it again, then it's just an incidental part of the garment, and you're allowed, you don't have to be concerned about it. Yes. These are all new things to you when you're getting very nervous about
No,
this.
I'm not getting there. I'm thinking about, like, this is new stuff to me also, but doesn't all of these little things feel like more work than, isn't the point of Shabbos to not do work? I'm
Okay,
thinking
so
about
no,
all
no,
these
so
things,
it's
no?
so we have the concept of what is a malacha, what is a forbidden action, and I'll give you an analogy of there's the important person. Usually they give the example of a king. So there's a king that hires you to do work in the palace and all different chores that it is, and he gives you a list of 39 different things to do. And when you're doing it throughout the week, it's very important. You're doing the king's work, and then it comes on Shabbos, and the king invites you at his table, and you're talking to the king, having a conversation. And then in the middle, you see there's a crack in the wall, and you were supposed to fix all the cracks. So you tell the king, "Excuse me, I have something very important to do." You leave the king and you go start fixing the cracks. You're saying, "Why am I doing it? I'm doing it for the king." Yeah, but the king is talking to you.
Right.
So what has a priority? You talk to the king, or do you do the fixing?
Right.
So which one? So even though they're little things, it's a little crack. No, but it's distracting you from what Shabbos is. On Shabbos, you are now connected. In Chassidus, it speaks about each of these malachas, how it's important it is to do it during the week, what it accomplishes. But then on Shabbos, that is then suspended, because on Shabbos that is not needed. So we have borer, we have selecting, separating the good and the bad. That is something that is for the weekday. But on Shabbos, the idea is everything is good. So why are you separating it? We have different concepts of, you have all the different malachas, how they are spiritually. And because it is spiritually, it also translates itself also in the physical world, that the actual thing is spiritually, you're not allowed to do this, or you're supposed to be doing this. And then it translates itself when it comes down to this physical world, it expresses itself in physical things. But when you are doing it, even if it's so insignificant, but you are creating. So for instance, let's say opening up a light on Shabbos. That's the most easy thing to do. It's not, why is it a malacha? It's not a malacha. So firstly, so this is when it speaks about a malacha in the Torah, there are just a handful of malachas that the Torah specifically lists, and the rest are Moshe Rabbeinu gave us over one of the 39 categories. But we do have Leisivavu Eish, do not make a fire on the Shabbos day. That is specifically in the Torah. Now, people will say, well, making a fire in those days in Egypt, and it was such a hard task. You had to taken friction and you had to have all these different things? And the answer is no. It was very easy. You had something that was like a tinderbox, which is like a matchbox. You just struck something and it lit up, and that was it. So lighting a fire in the desert was not a big heavy work. It was something that was very easy. But also the idea behind it is that throughout the week we create. On Shabbos day we cease creating because the creation now concluded, and now we are lifted up to a higher sphere where creating is not necessary because we are in the source of creation. So opening a light is creating. Shabbos, we do not create a physical light. So everything has its significance, even though when we say work, there's work and labor. We gave all of this introduction when we first started our class. There's work and there's labor. There's doing a constructive addition to this world. That is what Shabbos we refrain from. So we have all these things. Okay, I think for those who came in the middle of our class, it's a little, I'm saying, and also I'm speaking about this malacha itself. So we gave a lot of these, this is a series of malach. We had sewing and we had tearing. So imagine that sewing and tearing is all interconnected. So we spoke about all of this, and I'm trying to sort of put it together again. And so we'll take the next malacha, which is going to be trapping, and followed by slaughtering, and how it applies to us as well. Could we trap a mosquito? And how does slaughtering apply to us? Can we floss our teeth on Shabbos? How does that apply to slaughtering?
Can we? Killing the bacteria.
It matters. So first of all, you cannot tear the floss screen. Yes. So the answer is, who could tell me how is slaughtering and flossing connected? Okay, not to have blood, no bleeding. So the answer would be, are you allowed to floss on Shabbos?
No.
Matters how healthy your gums are. Matters how healthy your gums are. What happens during the week when you do flossing? Do you have bleeding or not? If there's no bleeding, then your gums are healthy. So flossing would not be an issue. But if it does cause bleeding, so you should go to the dentist and make sure that you have a healthy mouth, and then you will not have a problem with Shabbos. Okay, so you see how different things are, how we apply different halachas that seem to be completely not in our realm, but.
Right.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So about the garment, if there's like a label that attached to a little string and there's the plastic thing, that's on Shabbos. You know what I'm talking about? It's like a label and there's a little string thing.
What is it? What's the product?
What?
What's the product so I can understand what it is? What's the?
Clothing.
On your clothes.
Oh, clothing, so-
There's like a
Yeah.
plastic and a can.
Oh, so that was what we were speaking about. That is controversial. There are two, according to Chaim Noam, the Baal Chapaitzke in Yerushalayim said no. That's going to think about the classic, yes, the classic thing. He said no, and others, Shmir Shabbos Kil Chasa is more lenient about it. So in other circles, they're more lenient about it. In Lubavitch, it's more strict.
I have another question. If you already cut the piece of the label that's bothering you before Shabbos, but there's a little thing that's
You
still
can pull it out.
sticking out,
You can pull it out.
even if it's from
No,
the.
it's usually it's not attached. You can just pull it out from the other side.
Okay,
Once you
even
cut
if
it
from
off,
the
it's going
seam.
you just pull it out.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone needs this on the board?
What would be an example of soter?
Excuse me?
What's an example of soter that demolishes?
Oh, demolishing is taking a vessel and breaking it.
Okay, so what's like?
Usually a can.
A can.
A can, yes. So you're taking the can is a vessel. Now you're breaking it.
Okay,
So-
so they could be crushed.
Yes, so this would be, usually demolishing would be to rebuild. When speaking about building, it would take, you made a wall, it's crooked, take it apart, now you're going to rebuild it. That's a total prohibition. And the Rabbinic said that taking something apart, demolishing it, that itself is forbidden. However, the Rabbanan were more lenient when it came to food, that you could demolish for the purpose of food. So that we can go into that category. Any other,
Okay, wait, I heard that like also turning on a light is also a problem with like finishing a project because you're like closing a
close the
circuit.
circuit, that would be Nakabapatish. That would
Are these
come.
are they all at the same level of discretion as turning on a light or caring or driving?
Yes, one, which one?
Any of these that we're learning on the.
Oh, so it matters if it's the Torah prohibition, then they're all equal, all 39 are equal, if there are prohibitions, so they made their safeguard, they made it also, but they made it in certain circumstances, because it is determined.
So if somebody says, well, I'm not at that level yet.
On all 39 categories,
All the
all
same.
sense of it. If it is a Torah prohibition, if rabbinic, then they're.
And they're on the level of the rabbinic.
But they also, in the rabbinic itself, it's the same, but again, the Rabbanan themselves made leeways, and made more leniency on the certain.
They're
Yes, but specifically, for these circumstances.
Okay.
We gave some of the examples.
Well, the
but-
Torah, you can't make it.
Right.
I'll check and see what else.
Says that whatever you would like to become a question about. So does that apply to things